do it, bro.
How you been, bro?
Are we running with the music?
I almost forgot about that. Life's a movie, but everyone has a different soundtrack. Welcome to My OST, the show where we get a guest on and go through the soundtrack to their life and the stories behind it. So today, big day, pilot episode. Everyone forgive us. We're trying today. It's early for us. Be nice. Anyway.
You smashed it, to be fair.
Got to get that one out there early. Disclaimer. But yeah, so first episode pilot, we got Atu, hailing from Leeds, West Yorkshire. Shout out the Yorkshire Massive.
Come on.
Shout out the Yorkshire Black Boys too. We got to go for that. Yes, shout out Chade as well.
Shout out Chade.
Shout out Chade, the Black Yorkshireman himself. Shout out Chade. But yeah, today we've got Atu hailing from Leeds, West Yorkshire, musician, multimodal creative. What else can I say? Artiste, creative director, head honcho of Glasswall Studios, tipped as one of the North's creatives to do great things. Where do we go from here? Nominated for that Independent Music Awards. And now I'm running out of gas. But yeah, Atu. Welcome, my bro. Welcome.
Yes, bro.
It's good to have you on. Yeah. I nearly left you hanging, but I didn't.
No, thanks for having me, bro. It's a privilege to be the first guest.
Yeah.
A real blessing, man. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of everything that you're doing, obviously, and we work together so closely. So yeah, as soon as you told me about this idea, I thought, yeah, this is amazing, and yeah, to be a part of the first episode is a real privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for coming on it. Let's see how it goes. But I'm excited. I think we got a good concept. Hopefully, you'll like it, everyone. But
100%.
Let's go. I think so. So, okay. So, I'm not even going to explain the concept any more than I have. I think let's just get into it.
Yeah.
So, first track we've got Dido, Life for Rent. Let's go.
I haven't ever really found a place that I call home. I never stick around quite long enough to make
It's an interesting start.
Yeah, man. What, to come in on this?
Yeah.
I kind of done it in it's kind of like in chronological order.
Okay.
So it's kind of from those early influences up to now. That's kind of how I.
That's
I
really
pieced it
interesting.
together.
Is Dido one of your early influences, or
So it was
like family, or
yeah, this is what my mum would be playing, and I think when you're that young and you're hearing your mum play songs, it almost becomes like an extension of her in a way, because this is how she relates to music. This is it feels almost like a form of her expression. So she'd be rowing in the garage. That was and you just hear the music coming out, and I go in and check in on her. She'd be listening to this music. So that was just, yeah.
That's mad, to be fair. It takes you back to her, being in the garage, rowing and stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And at that time, I think that was the first time that we'd settled into a home. Because before that, me and my mum were traveling a lot, and we were in Scotland, then we were in Oxford, then we were in Korea for a bit, then we were in New York, and then we kind of landed in York. And this song is about kind of not really knowing where you belong. And I think my mum in that period of her life was figuring it out, and we were finding our kind of foundations together. We had we're a bit of a team in that way. And so this song, I think subconsciously I gravitated to it in that way as well.
Yeah, man, that's really interesting. So where were you at this point?
We had just moved. So when we first moved to York, we lived on the campus.
Okay, fine.
Which is which is my mum was just got her first job working at the uni, and then and that's what I loved about that university, actually. All the students with children all lived in the same area.
Mate, that's sick,
So that's where the Gimbers lived. And
so that makes sense, man. Oh,
and
wow.
so that the whole community was just young, families.
That area was nice, to be fair. Yeah, man.
And so we kind of turned up actually the first day we arrived in York. It's funny. We like pulled up, and the street that we lived on was called Spring Lane, and it had these really nice houses on it, and then it had these like little wooden houses, like they're like little wooden porter cabins or whatever, but we hadn't reached the porter cabins yet, and we saw the big house, and my mum was like, woo, like, we thought we made it. Honestly, we were in the car, we were like pulled up in my mum's Toyota Corolla, and we were just like, we looked at each other like, yo, and then we like just couldn't find the door number.
Wow, I don't know, my key ain't working.
These people are like, what? These people breaking in? And then we like carried on, and then we it turned out we were going to stay in one of these little wooden porter cabins, which was actually really nice for, they're not there anymore, but it was actually a really nice community of like university people that lived on that street. And then we had moved, then after that we moved into our first house, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad, that's interesting. So what sort of age was this?
8, I think. Yeah, 8, 9. So yeah, I started school in York around that time.
Yeah. Mad.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Do you think fondly back to those times? Like we've talked about this sort of topic a little bit.
Yeah.
About how I know definitely like it was not isolating, but I don't know, that period. It's interesting when you think back to like the York days.
Yeah.
Talking about the whole Black Yorkshire experience and all of that jazz. Just take it deep for a second.
Yeah, no, me and my mum talk about this a little bit because we were living in Oxford before, and a lot of her like sort of feelings around moving to York are kind of also grounded in whether we should have stayed in Oxford or stayed down south.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's interesting.
I think it's interesting because until I moved to York, like we'd lived in so many different places, like I mentioned, in Korea, in New York, and in Oxford, in Scotland. But York was the first time that race became like a thing. And I don't know if it was a combination of just getting to an age where you became more aware of it, or whether it was just down to the city itself. But like I was like very quickly like inundated with like information about me being different. So I remember a few weeks into joining the new school, this kid in my class was having a birthday party, and I was the only one not invited. He was like, "Oh yeah, my parents said you can't come because you're black." Yeah. And so I think, on the one hand, I loved it because we were living on this campus, York campus, and you like have the freedom to like cycle around everywhere. My mum would let me go wherever I wanted, and yeah, within reason. And I had a lot of freedom. I felt like it was a very safe environment. You weren't really gonna get into much trouble, but at the same time, you also felt like you were like you started to build this like really intense awareness about who you were, or how, in terms of how you looked in relation to other people. So you almost saw yourself through other people's eyes in a way that, and that's an intense thing to like grow up with and then have for a sustained period of time. I think it affects how you see yourself.
Yeah, bro, definitely. Well, obviously we had somewhat similar experiences in that sort of thing.
How did you find it?
Yeah, man, it's interesting. I've been very used to it. Because I've had it from like being almost as young as I can remember. Oh, definitely since like 5, because I was actually up in Scotland them times. Yeah, so yeah, man, I definitely get it. To be fair, that's why I always say that. Shout out you and Chade. That's why it was great having you guys around growing up. Yeah, it was definitely really sick. But this is the thing, I feel like people don't really realize, and I feel like maybe even yourself at the time you don't even realize. But I think that stuff does all have an effect.
Massively, yeah.
I feel like environment's massive, but that's like a specific bit about your environment that maybe like some people might overlook.
Yeah, I feel like
other people in other situations as well. Like that.
Yeah, there's a general like Black British narrative the overarching narrative that like tries to tell the story of Black people in Britain, and tends to centralize around London, really inner city London, whether it's even black made films or whether it's just wider depiction of black people in the media. But the experience in Yorkshire is, by contrast to London, is quite stark. And I felt that because I moved to London when I was 17, 18. So
Bro, facts.
when I moved, like, a lot of my friends who were black in London had not experienced the same thing. And they were very, like, surprised. And there was instantly, like, sort of colorism within the black community. Like, oh, you're dark-skinned, you're African, you're Somalian, you're Jamaican, whatever. Everything became, like, partitioned in a way that up north, if you were, even if you were, like, from Pakistan,
bro, they chuck anyone in
and
there.
we're all together, yeah. And, like, and because that you'd almost see yourself in anyone who was an outcast, because you were literally outcasts. And there were things that, black boys would, I knew about black boys who would put blue contact lenses in and, like, be, like, trying to bleach their skin or just lots of things that, like, I think they didn't even realize they were doing at the time, that was impacted by their environment, that a lot of people in or at least friends in London didn't experience. Yeah.
Bro, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Even just to finalize on that kind of topic, obviously me moving to London at whatever, my mid to late 20s, like I found it such a difference, like refreshing, like, so it's definitely, I feel like when you're younger, it's probably the effects, like, amplified almost even. So
bro, it stands out so much. I feel like, moving to London, you just, when that weight of, like, seeing yourself through other people's eyes is removed and you don't feel, like, watched or judged in a certain way, it changes everything. It changes how you feel. And it's interesting because I had a severe fear of flying for a long time. I've talked to a couple of people about this, and it was just something that was just almost overwhelming for me. Like, I'd sit on the plane, I wouldn't be able to concentrate on anything other than, like,
sometimes people have it bad, innit?
Yeah, really bad. And didn't matter where I was going, it was really bad. And then when I was 25, I took a flight to Ghana, and I was suddenly, like, surrounded by loads of people that looked like me, and the anxiety wouldn't kick in. I've been flying for 15 years with so much anxiety, and I was thinking, I wonder whether that anxiety actually would, and this idea that I was scared of flying was actually rooted in, like, a sense of being in a place where it was just so heightened on a plane, where I just felt even more watched, even more out of place, or like judged. So it's interesting because anxiety was a big thing that I struggled with as a kid, and that experience flying, I haven't been scared of flying since that flight.
Wow, that's amazing,
so
man.
it's an interesting thing. I think you hear people, they talk about speaking to therapists and figuring out what went wrong or why they had anxiety. I have no idea what happened really, but all I can say is it's interesting, like, having taken that flight and then having not felt anything since then. I thought that was quite insightful.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, I feel like with stuff like that, it's like your brain kind of makes, like, mental links or, like, associations.
Yeah.
And it's like you might not even know it's almost like a chain. It's like something that led to something, and then before you know it, maybe it's that. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy, man. But yeah.
But anywho, let's get into it. So song number 2, we have "I Try" by Macy Gray.
Banger.
I want to see what this video is saying.
Do you know this song?
I do.
Yeah?
I do, but I've definitely never seen this video.
Yeah.
I believe that fate has brought us here, and we should be together, babe.
Like, it's funky.
But we're not.
but is this where you got your vocal inspiration from?
I wish. Yeah, no, I think this song was so undeniable. It's so universal because of her ability to sing so well. And like, it was played in my mum's house, it was played in my dad's house. It just felt like a bridge between everything. It just felt like this, because I would hear it in both parents' houses, it felt like a universal, like, oh, this is, everyone likes this sort of thing. So I remember just singing all the words to this song, and I never really listened to another song by her, to be honest. It was just, this song was just ringing off in both my parents' houses. So
that's really interesting, actually. Have you ever actually spoken, especially I guess when you were doing this, did they both know about that kind of connection, or like have you spoken to both of them about it?
It's really funny you asked that, yeah, because I initially put this song on my list because and I was thinking about my dad's house, listening to this song at my dad's house, and then I showed my mum the list for the podcast the other day, and she was like, before I had time to say, oh yeah, I listened to this at dad's, she was like, oh yeah, I used to play that all the time. And I was like, yeah, she did, and it's true, like they both did, but I've never spoken to them about the fact that they both listened to this song. I wonder whether one of them introduced the other to the song.
That's what I mean. It's interesting. Oh man, especially because like, you know what I mean, in that kind of separate households. Interesting that what you said about when you brought the track list up to your mum as well. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So maybe it would have been on her list.
Yeah, no, I reckon this song would have been on my mum's list. I reckon it would have been on my dad's list as well. But yeah, I think at that time as well, I was like, as a young boy, I was thinking about it. I think there's also like an intrigue as to like understanding women, like, and like their relationship with the world and life and how they see it. Like, there's a lot of other songs on my list that are like to do with like masculinity and growing up with a sense of what it means to be a man, and like trying to figure out the perimeters of male emotions or emotions in general. But I think, as I said, the Dido song was kind of felt like an extension of my mum, and like there were certain artists, I mean I couldn't put them all on, but there were certain female artists that really like intrigued me into the emotions and feelings of a woman.
Wow. Yeah, I was just speaking about the whole woman thing. I feel like as men, I've said this before to a few mates, I feel like you almost don't know what you don't know.
100%.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you cannot know a lot.
Yeah.
On that.
That is so true.
You cannot know a lot. Ooh, let me pause, a little spoiler there. So that is interesting. It's interesting that you associate that song with that as well.
No, I think, I've always kind of had that.
Is it because of the lyrics, or May see herself as a singer, or because of your mum, or
all of those things? But like, it's always been like that. Like, even like Phoebe Bridgers and artists, like female artists that come out now, it always feels like a window into the mind of a woman, that, and in a way that like it feels like a slightly different experience than when I'm listening to guys' music. So
No, that's really interesting, bro. That's really interesting. Since we've had a little spoiler, we're gonna keep it stepping straight into the next one. So we got "If I Had" by Eminem. And I'm gonna wheel the first 4 seconds back. Let's get it in properly.
The best 4 seconds.
That was crazy, bro. Crazy.
Yeah.
Eminem, legend.
What was your first
Shout out Pearlman. So I got shout out Pearlman.
Trust me. What was your first Emma album?
Great question.
Yeah.
Probably the first one I started listening to tracks off was this, but I don't remember listening to the whole album, so I probably didn't listen to the whole album.
Yeah.
I have to go back into the archives for that one, but yeah. I do remember that time though when M was just, there was that period when M was like just the next, literally like what they even call that, sliced bread or whatever they call it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? He was hotter than hot.
Yeah, and I what
Even
like
the numbers from that, shout out hip hop numbers. Even the numbers from that bloody time,
yeah, like
what he sold was crazy.
but like when you try and think of artists like that now, it's like it's hard to like.
The game's changed, to be fair.
The game has changed.
That
Yeah,
whole
yeah. Just because, yeah, I remember thinking he just seemed bigger than life. Like it was, I kind of was obsessed with him, to be honest. That was definitely the first artist that was like mind blown, and for me, and I think it kind of came from this, I guess, feeling of how can this person that's having such personal struggles and like seems to, everything he's talking about reflects like being at the bottom and struggle, and how can it have such a big platform and be connecting globally on such a big scale? Like it felt like more powerful than powerful, just because of it wasn't just like a pop act that was like kind of showing the best of life. And yeah, so
that's actually a really interesting thing. To be fair, I don't know how well I know this song, but yeah, it's a crazy perspective of it. Yeah, especially listening to the lyrics.
yeah,
Wait, do you remember what year this was?
I'd say between 1999 to 2001. Yeah,
Yeah, to be fair, that would be why. Yeah, that's why.
tired of being stared at, tired of wearing the same damn Nike.
To be honest,
Yeah.
I feel like, say what you want about M, but I feel like you actually have to respect him.
Yeah,
At the very least, you have to respect him,
Yeah,
because
man.
he actually had it somewhat hard.
of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, speaking about people, so let's not get too political, but you know,
Yeah.
we'll talk about certain privileges. But
Yeah.
to be fair, in those spaces, he probably still did get some, but he definitely had to get through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
basically.
But yeah, I think sometimes it is like, like sometimes statements are made really powerfully, like the perspective is powerful in the inverse, like Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman. You know, when you put the shoe on the other foot, it's kind of like an interesting way to like look in the mirror. Yeah. So yeah, I just I love this album. It was funny because I initially didn't have M
Yeah,
on the
we were
list.
talking about this. You
And my-
admitted him.
And before my mum was like, same convo I was having with my mum. She was like, "Oh, you've got to have M on there," and I was like, "Yeah, I should put him on there."
Yeah.
And like, yeah, because to be honest, even on the music front, like this is what inspired me to start writing.
That's interesting. I was
Yeah.
actually just
Yeah.
about to ask. Yeah,
Yeah.
So was this one of your early inspirations? I
Yeah,
feel?
yeah, 100%. It was like, yeah, this kind of like started to make me think about how I could start to express myself in a way that felt like authentic to me. And it would start with like petty stuff, like I'd be annoyed in the house and that something had annoyed me, and I'd start like, yeah, or I guess I was like writing it was almost like writing in a diary. And then like yeah, it started to be like my like access to a new way of like expressing myself.
Wow.
Basically, because up until that point I'd just been drawing a lot. So
That's interesting.
yeah.
So, at what age did you start drawing? Would you say it's interesting because obviously in my intro I did mention that you've done other stuff, but obviously I guess maybe music's what you've done the most of.
Yeah.
I guess would at least be fair to say.
Definitely.
So, what age did you start drawing? Would you say? And what sort of drawings are we talking about?
It's so funny, like, because like, as you asked that question, so many things came to mind. But I think I started drawing like from as early as I can remember. Like everyone, like when you're a kid, you just get coloring pens, you're attracted to the multitude of colors and being able to like, you know, draw as however badly. But I then used to like, my earliest memories are like I drew a kettle that my mum still got, and I don't know why I drew a kettle, but that was like, I guess early for me was drawing objects, but then it kind of like morphed into like landscapes and scenes of like that felt very much like Life of Pi. Is that the name of that book? I think so.
That is a book.
Yeah.
I've not read it,
But like boy goes on a journey, and it would almost kind of, a lot of my pictures would involve like me in some way with a kind of like companion or a dog. And I kind of grew.
sick.
Yeah, it was kind of.
So it was like a little series almost.
Yeah.
So like definitely you had like a theme at least.
Yeah. And then that transformed into like me creating my own Pokemon cards. And I then like decided to turn that into like a business. So I would sit, I'd sit in the front of my mum's, and I will have drawn like 50 different Pokemon cards with, and it was all about the characters.
Work rate as well.
The work rate, bro.
Trust me, one was in the shop.
Yeah, like people would be knocking for me, like, yo, you coming out? I'll be like, no, bro. I'm like,
I'm in the lab.
I'm in the lab. I'm creating the new Charizard, G. What do you mean?
What do you mean am I coming out? Mad.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd be doing that. I really remember doing it when in the summers I'd go to my dad's, and I convinced my dad lived in Edinburgh at the time, convinced all the other kids on the street to like help me out. So we were like, we're probably doing like 3 times the numbers up in Edinburgh. We were like, yeah, we're moving mad up there, and we'd be and I would make. I remember early times. I remember making like £30 a day, and then when my mates joined, we'd be making like, I don't know, £60-70 a day or something, and we'd go.
It's a serious scheme.
It's pretty serious. We're like
them times, and at that age,
yeah,
it's a serious scheme.
Yeah, I mean those were good days. To be fair, I'm probably just remembering the best day and then like putting it on every day.
Yeah, man's putting up inflated numbers. This is fraud, bro. Fraudulent behavior.
Yeah, I think we just yeah, we had one really good day, and I just remember it as the best day, but yeah, no, we basically, yeah, would be into drawing, and then I was into like like creating album covers, and so it kind of morphed into music in that way. And I think I was, as you said, I was starting to kind of tell stories through the drawings, pictures. Yeah.
Oh, that's sick, you know. I think that makes sense, and it's just kind of dipping into kind of like another conversation, but just related to that. I think you actually do see that a lot. I feel like most creatives don't just do one thing. I would actually probably argue.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I feel like musicians always end up acting, and I guess like rappers make beats, like people even do like some of their own photography and like loads of other stuff. Like
I found odd was that artists would be so confined to their genre or like a style. And I guess that was my criticism of artists as a kid, having this kind of free-flowing feeling of, oh, I want to sing now I want to rap, now I want to you know, like focus on melody and like try, you know, bring in a bit of rock or so from early I always felt like very musically fluid. I never felt like I wanted to be, even though I was inspired by like Eminem in terms of my writing, it never felt like, oh, I'm just gonna do that, because I felt like there was just a lot more that I wanted to express than just that one side of me. I felt like that was very restricting. But yeah.
That is interesting. I feel like on that whole kind of topic, it's like when artists do something different, you know what I mean? I feel like they almost always get like shit for it, basically. You know what I mean? But I guess it's one of those things. Maybe you're never gonna please everyone,
Yeah.
and like there's always gonna be a section of your audience you don't like if you do something a bit different. But
And I think it's people need to understand as well. I think from an artist point of view, sometimes it's not even just that. It's not just about creating something because you're really good at it. Like obviously, once it becomes a business and you're signed with a record label, they want you to double down on what is working. But as an artist who's never really been with a major record company, I've never had that pressure, and I've always kind of just prioritized what is good for me as a human being. So I can like on the one hand appreciate that what I'm probably best at is writing quite deep, considerate, and like thoughtful music. I feel like
yeah,
I'm probably
that's
in my
definitely some of your best.
yeah. I feel
Obviously, like I've shown, no spoilers, but I've shown when we get onto the track
Yeah.
later. I
Yeah.
feel like that is some of your best work. Definitely, that's a little teaser. Everyone, you got to stay locked now. But
no,
yeah,
thanks, bro.
that is where you're in your bag for sure.
There's yeah, I feel like that's where my strengths lie. But at the same time, if I were to keep doing that, I feel like it would have a negative impact on me. And so
point.
I started to move into like more different forms of writing and like prioritizing melody, prioritizing freestyle, as opposed to like meticulously writing the way that I feel and like meditating over the past, because that was like heavy to live with. And so I wanted to like outgrow that, even whether I was like as good at
Yeah.
like freestyling
Yeah.
as a form of writing or not. It just felt like the natural progression for me as an individual. And so I wasn't kind of like trapped within the net of a major record company's agenda.
Yeah.
And that may have meant that I've kind of like floated as an artist, and it may have like restricted my ability to grow commercially. But as a human being, it's felt very good.
That's what I mean. I feel like it's interesting because people who know me, and you probably know, I've banged on about duality. So I feel like you got to take the good with the bad, and in your case, what was better for you was worse for that. But that doesn't mean it's worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes it's better, if anything.
Yeah. No, I think so. Like, I've kind of always tried to just follow my heart when it comes to like art. And yeah, as I was saying before, I found it always very odd as a kid listening to artists that were kind of like repeating the same sort of thing over and over again. Because for me, whether it was in like how I drew or how I like was writing, I kind of wanted to like explore. And
Facts,
you know,
facts.
it just felt so restricting. Like it's art is a form of exploration.
Bro, I might stand up and start fucking clapping, bro. That is crazy because that is literally exactly how I feel. Because even with the brand, that's why when I've always done it, I've always wanted to do like limited edition collections in terms of like, as you say, like almost exploring. So we're like, let's do a this, let's do a that, let's do a this. Now we're doing a pod and we've done some events. And like I think again, like almost what's the point if you're not doing something like new almost, or like exploring, like you say.
I think
I think that is it. And that's where you like do cool stuff and find cool things, or new things get discovered, or it's in that exploration.
100%. It's like it's being open to like the unknown, like revealing the punchline for you. Like the best lines that I've ever written have been things that came to me. Like I'd written the 4 lines and the 5th line was like, oh shit. It was like it kind of felt like it fell on my lap. I couldn't have written that.
Yeah.
And so that is an interesting form of writing. It's like you're kind of
It's
like,
out of body almost.
it becomes out of body.
Yeah.
And like those songs where I felt that I've written my best was definitely when I felt those sort of situations happening. But yeah, back to your point in terms of what you're doing with the brand, I think it's why I've always gravitated to what you're doing and working with you, because I feel like in that way, I think you're ahead of the game, because you're rooted in your like youthful instincts of like, this is what I want to do this because I want to do this, as opposed to this like rule based like system that like says, okay, we're going this way, and you got all these like influencers and artists and designers that on the one hand are trying to like stand out as being alternative and different, but then they're all dressing the same, talking the same, and releasing the same kind of music, and they're so, you know, I've sat in rooms making music with some of these people, and they're very conscious of what everyone else is doing, and that wasn't what I was doing when I first like, you know, got into music, and I found myself falling victim to that behavior as well, and like
to do, bro.
and just becoming second guessing yourself, second guessing the voice in your head, and starting to think about, oh, like how would this work in relation to the, you know, what everyone else is doing, and the tide. But I guess there's an art to that as well. I'm not completely dismissing it. I think there is an art to communication, and sometimes communication is about thinking about how do I make this work with the tide. But
I think it's interesting. I feel like this is kind of branching onto a related topic, but I always remember like a few people saying about this stuff. I want to say maybe Virgil, maybe like someone like Virgil, Pharrell, Tyler, someone like that. I don't know if that was a mad triple association of people, by the way, but anyway.
all great. You know, right.
But doing their own thing and kind of fashion related. But anyway, one of them was saying about like, when you're making stuff, like you got to do like what you like type thing, and what you're feeling, the way that you're led. And I think that's basically the opposite of just following on to whatever everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's one of those things.
There was a time in my music career, like not so long ago, where I needed the boys that I worked with to like almost approve my ideas. And like, even though I knew it was like not right, like it had gotten to a point where I had lost a sense of confidence. And I knew that like I was on a losing streak at that point, because like it was almost like everything was lined up. I had, you know, the deal was there, we were doing well, and like that pressure started to make me think, oh, it was almost like things were going too good, that I needed to like ensure that we kept it going well. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Sometimes it's easier when you're younger because you've got nothing to lose. And sometimes it's nicer to be in that position of like back against the wall. You can really hear yourself. You can really feel yourself in those moments.
It's interesting. I always think about that with like footy. And footy players always talk about it, like how at their first tournament they're always fearless, and you always hear like the cliche, you're fearless stuff.
100%.
It's true, to be fair. When I feel like this is getting deep, but as adults we pick up scars as we go. I feel like it changes you. And even I always think of the Kendrick song. The Kendrick song, when Tupac's on about that at the end, and he's like saying, well, like I think it's more talking about like, I don't even know, militant shit, but like talking about like that you have more energy when you're young to like fight the fight, but you kind of slowly, or you at least can slowly, you lose that as you get older.
Easily.
Other life
I always
comes in the way too.
I always find it inspiring when people still have that fight, you know, when you see older people you know, really standing up for what's right. That's it's admirable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for real, bro. For real, bro. Okay, so let's keep it stepping.
Yeah.
We got next.
Yeah.
Didn't
It's just
work.
yeah. This tune, mate,
But
is
this is Gorillaz, Clint Eastwood, by the way. Track number 4. Such a banger. Such a banger. Mate, the melody alone, straight in.
I ain't happy. I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless.
I mean, like this
This is crazy.
this for me.
Mate, this is iconic, classic.
Yeah, but it screams.
Timeless.
It screams like following your instincts. Like everything about it just feels.
Mate, yeah, it's
so
just so, bro, that's actually such a good point. I never thought about it like that, but it's just, even now, it still sounds like
Yeah.
different.
But I think if you're not following a trend, it becomes timeless.
Yeah.
Because it is coming from
Like,
the
yeah.
heart. And so, yeah, but I think I was attracted to this music because of the album art. I remember throwing it in my mum's trolley at Asda. And then like,
Shout out Asda. Give us some money, please. Sponsor us.
and I think she saw the front cover, it was a cartoon. She's like, oh, that's sweet. But like, yeah, I mean, I think I remember having this on repeat. Maybe it was the album I played the most as a kid. But yeah, I think it felt like a world in itself.
But speaking about world itself, because during our work together in the studio,
Yeah.
obviously we use the phrase world building, or creators use the phrase world building, but I feel like Gorillaz did that.
Yeah.
Like everything around it, like the characters, the visuals, the sound,
Yeah.
the look, everything. They're like actually iconic, bro, to be fair.
So iconic.
Genuinely.
They put the music first. I think a lot of people don't do that.
Video's quite mad as well to me, yeah. I feel like, I wonder, they probably had spent a lot of money, but I suppose they probably had made a label back in.
I think the artist is part of the band.
Oh, you know what? I never knew that. Never knew that. That's sick. That makes sense.
Yeah. Considering how much they
Yeah.
basically use the same aesthetic the whole
Yeah.
time.
This animation ain't cheap either. That's why animation's like
Yeah.
expensive.
Back then.
Yeah,
This is like
that's
what,
back
2000s as well.
Yeah.
This is like literally, I think, year 2000.
Yeah. Don't even really look that out of place.
No. I think there's a lot of that now though. I feel like they reached the point where like I was looking at my school photo and my brother's school photo, like from both in year 7, and there's like 19 years apart between us, and mine's just as clear as him. Whereas look at my mum's, it looks like she's during the war.
Yeah, trust
No.
me.
Sorry, mum.
Yeah, done it dirty. Jeez. Don't go home. I'm gonna send this to her personally. Clip it. That's joke. What a choice though.
Thanks, bro. Yeah.
Proper banger.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just taking the choice in. I ain't even got a conversation from it. I just wanted to say that was too sick. That
Yeah, man.
just want to big up Gorillaz, man.
Big up Gorillaz.
Big up Gorillaz,
Big up
man.
Gorillaz. Thank you.
Big up Gorillaz. Big up you. Great choice. All right, let's keep it stepping then.
Yeah.
So next up we got Ghost Poet,
This
Survive
tune.
It. Which is a Ghost Poet called. Maybe I know this. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, I love this song so much.
Give it an intro.
I can do. This is this is a tune that I remember my dad showing to me for the first time. This is when he just moved to Leeds, and he was like, "Yo, there's this really cool artist."
No, your dad put you on the Ghost Poet.
My dad put me onto Ghost, but
That
yeah.
is-
Um,
shout out Quakes, man.
Yeah, my dad's got amazing music
That
taste.
is
As does
crazy.
my mum. But yeah, just like I remember, I think he'd just been nominated for a Mercury, so he was kind of like
Yeah, big.
kind of coming up, and it was just so different. It's kind of reminding me when I first heard Gigs, and it was kind of this like it was so unconventional to like the other artists that were rapping within this same the same scene.
Yeah.
And like his just voice kind of just penetrated through and just felt very authentic and
Yeah,
very British,
yeah.
very immigrant Britain meets kind of like experience of it kind of started to also I was 16 at the time, so I think it started to even further push out the perimeters of like the male experience and
I
like
was
the
gonna say, different
struggle
experience.
and loneliness and mental health that a lot of men feel in silence. It kind of, you never talk to your friends about it, but
Yeah.
songs like this kind of started to connect the dots for me in those formative years. And he just had this ability to just speak from the heart. So yeah, I've been a massive fan of Ghost Poet ever since then. But this song was the first one that my dad showed me, and probably my favorite song by him as well. It's called Survive It.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, what an intro. I'm not gonna even talk too much after that. I don't even talk too much. Let's go.
Okay. I'm 44 years old and life ain't golden. Like Jill Scott said, when you got no cash, got no check, got no credit card, life is pretty hard. Sure you can see that, and plus underrated. Plus bare knockbacks, been shown the door cause they talking about cutbacks. And you think what next, left or the right door? Key in the door, but the door won't
Yeah, go
open
for
and
it.
heartbeat
We got
froze.
wheel it. It's funny because the sound effects on the computer, I nearly thought about having it. Drop the air hole.
Yeah, mate, it's crazy. Like the flow is so unique.
Bro,
the approach,
I
the cadence.
love tracks like this. For me, this is like basically my favorite type of music. Like these, like almost like the dark marauding beats. Look at the video.
Yeah.
Man's just on the block at night,
Yeah, it's just
spitting.
it's so
And
raw.
someone just barring on the track,
Yeah.
bro.
You know that it feels like he wrote it in 15 minutes. You know what I mean? It just was like
It feel like he had a day.
it just feels so clear. Like it just feels like he just got straight to the point.
Shit to get off his chest.
Yeah, it was one of those
Yeah,
days.
this is what I'm saying. He's like, today I'm gonna rant.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, to the pen. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man. It's so relatable as well. I think as you get older, like as a kid, as I was saying, you kind of like, oh, he's like talking about like it seemed like an interesting, almost slightly dark horizon, or like, but like as you like grow older, you start to like, you can feel like the experience that he's talking about as a young man.
Mate, I don't know if, I assume this was a big influence for you because I see influence.
This is no new messages, 2005, all like massively influenced me, man. Like Dark Room, Monster, all those songs, like I think M kind of like transformed into this, and then I think from like 2014, 15 onwards, when I met John and we started working together, this was the main influence, really. Yeah.
Let's go. Clink, clink. Also, on the topic, actually, this is the perfect time.
Yeah.
You see these? I've been let down. These aren't meant to be what's here today. Imagine this, but some sick, coming soon, thermocups.
Jeez.
What is a thermocup? I hear you ask. Wait and see, but they're called But yeah, we got
cold. I see what you did
it's the
there.
thank you. You caught the pun. Anyway, so we got some drinkware coming. My OST drinkware. Stay locked.
Yeah, you need like an explosion. for
Yeah.
that, man. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Let's go. All right, we back in. I think
Yes.
we are back in, and we're back in with a banger. I must say. I hope you lot are ready. I don't know where you lot are listening to this. I'm gonna ask you to pull the mic cover down a little bit. You see the cover? Yeah, just slide it down. Slide it. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Keep sliding it. Oh yeah, there you go. To be fair, mine's not even all the way down. I'm being a hypocrite. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Anyway, back to the gassing of this tune.
Yeah.
This is a massive tune. Underground and Kings by the one and only Drizzy Drake. Comment's gonna say I'm D-riding. I just might be.
Be like that.
Let's go. Beat's crazy.
It's crazy. Oh, mate.
Rich over troubled water, ice in my muddy water. Rich off a mixtape, got rich off a mixtape. Probably shouldn't be driving, it just got so much harder. Can't even see it straight, I can't even see it straight. Fuck with me, I'm out of shots. Live a little, cause niggas die a lot and lie a lot, but I'm the truth, that's right, I fucking said it. The living proof that you ain't gotta die to get to heaven. You, girl, you right there, you look like you like this shit. How'd I know, that's me on some psychic shit. I could tell a lie if you're asking me my whereabouts, but I might talk that real if you ask me what I care about. Rapping bitches, bitches, and rapping and bitches until all of it switches. I swear, it's been 2 years since somebody asked me who I was. I'm the greatest.
Bro, this Drake is talking about undeniable. This
Yeah.
Drake is just iconic Drake. Walking like a man. I feel like talking about it, I feel like you hear the hunger almost. I don't know. It's
Bro,
different. I
that's
feel like the
exactly
music
what this
you
is.
get from when people are in that lane. Or
Yeah.
even I guess talking about the whole wider creative thing. Maybe even just what you get from anyone who creates when they're in that lane.
Yeah. Like we were talking about it with Ghost Poet. Like he had this undeniable way of kind of like expressing his kind of like like doubts and like his like struggles with his reality. And I feel like Drake had this ability to like tap into his dreams, and his like he was able to kind of like get that same energy but like almost propel it like into the future. And so when I would listen to this song, I think I've tried to write to this song
Mate, I
20
would
times.
love to hear that.
I've never been able to pull it off for whatever reason, but a lot of the time I write to instrumentals that I really like, and then that becomes the songs that I end up like reproducing. But yeah, this song I've always just loved. As you said, this beat is just incredible. It's got so much momentum in it. It's so like, it's almost like,
I feel like the beat itself is almost like aspirational. It
Yeah,
doesn't even make
yeah.
sense.
yeah, you're moving towards a finish line, and you kind of feel like every line is worthy of like really of a punch. Every line has to be a punchline on this. And so I think that's why I've always struggled to write to it, because you have to be in a flow state. You have to match the momentum of the beat, and that's a very hard thing to do.
Wow, yeah. It's interesting. I wonder who produced this.
Yeah,
If anyone ends up watching this, and you
Yeah.
know, definitely let us know. I feel like obviously could Google it, not just for saying it. But
yeah.
yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, bro. To drop a let us know in the comments. Come on, mum, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and subscribe while you're at
Subscribe,
it.
mum, please.
Yes, mum. On that third account.
Trust me, bro. Run up them burners. That's funny. But what a track. And Drake during that time, again, do you know what's funny? That album, I remember being at school in bloody sixth form, make me sound like a fossil. But being at school in sixth form, and walking into the gym or maybe I was in year 11 or something.
And
then
they
walked
played
into the
that song
gym,
for you as you came.
And they was playing the CD in the gym. Like one of the
Yeah.
sixth ones brought the CD into the
Yeah.
gym, and everyone was banging it.
Yeah, man.
That's, bro.
Yeah, it's
it was
an amazing,
anthem.
it's just an amazing album.
Anthem
Again,
that
like
time.
the whole album was just amazing, and yeah, as an artist, he was just like, yeah, just like I feel like he was propelling and manifesting the future, and I feel like I think it was so powerful that it like had that effect on so many young people at that time. So yeah, special artist, especially at that time.
Definitely. I feel like it was a whole movement, to be fair, the whole Young Money thing as well. I
Yeah.
feel like everyone, Wayne, Nicki, Drake.
Yeah,
To be fair, even it was a good time for rap.
yeah, it was a good time.
I feel like it was a good time for rap.
Yeah, you don't really have collectives in the same way anymore.
Bro, collectives, I think, are a thing that's definitely missed.
But we live in, I don't know, things have just become so individualistic now, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, in a way that it feels like, I don't know, like it would be interesting if you had like social media platforms that were more tailored to like groups. You know what I mean? It's so like individually focused, so.
Welcome back again.
Where are we gonna make them?
Fucking an evening. But this is another banger, so we're straight back in. We're in the last leg of Atu's My OST, the debut My OST, the pilot. We've got The Streets Blinded by the Lights.
Yeah, one of Britain's finest.
That's the one. Oi. How did he not find the baggie with his hand in my shoe? Way too close for me. Oh well, at least they allowed me through. Should be a good night in here. Ramo in the main room. People keep pushing me though. No
Do
reception
you remember when
on
you
the
first
phone.
heard The Streets?
And I'm thinking.
That is a great question.
They said they'd be here, they said.
Do
They said in
not.
the corner.
In short.
Yeah.
But I definitely remember like significant times related to the
Bit
streets.
green and blue.
Even to be fair, I've been lucky enough to see them recently, more recently, so I do
I
think
wish
about
the
that as
bouncers would
well.
go away.
But yeah,
Horrible
even
rough
tunes
man,
like this,
here
to
goes
be
nothing
fair.
a cake. And I'm
Like I
thinking,
said, to be honest, when I listen to them, I do think
That's
about your
proper
music
rap.
quite a lot.
that tastes
That's
like
cool.
hairspray.
I love that.
And I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
Obviously, some tracks more than others, but yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely see
Coming to
the
the
influence,
entrance,
like we were saying about
just
this
to get
and
bars
Ghost
on the
Poet.
phone.
Like
You have no
two
new
very,
message.
very cool
So why haven't they
influences.
phoned?
And like I said, I think it's
Right
good
message.
people,
So where
again, I don't
you
even know what
smoke?
you lot have heard, but it's
Send
good
message
people
down this number.
can carry
Where
the
have they
torch
gone?
on this
And I'm
on this
thinking,
type of sound. And these influences, at least,
What's the
obviously, you
message
put your own
been?
spin on it and
Yeah.
do
Where
your
the
own
fuck
way.
are you?
But I think that's a good thing as well. Like, I think paying homage is important, especially in,
Brandy or
well,
beer?
it's done a lot in creative
Water's a
circles,
good
but even
idea.
like sampling
Wish
in
that bar
music
lady
and
Yeah.
would appear. Come serve
different
over
things.
here.
Even like I do love it
Where the
when
fuck
I
could they
think some
be?
people don't like it, but I love
Still
it
not
when
over in the corner.
rappers like reference
Tonight's
either
attraction.
some of their
Keep
old
thinking of
bars,
sorrow.
their own old
And I'm
bars,
thinking,
or other people's old bars.
Yeah.
No, that's not them.
Yeah, I feel like there's just
That's
such a
not them.
rich history of British music. It's very nice to like, yeah, reimagine
I'm still not feeling
traditional British sound,
It's gotta be
and it's
God.
still evolving. I
It's
mean,
been
we're
ages since I necked it. I smoked six
especially
tabs
when it
too
comes
long.
to British
Belly's
rap
not even
and
ticking.
British like
I just feel a bit
spoken
pissed.
word. Like,
No one looks like mingling.
I mean,
I can't see
grime
her
was
or
what
him.
created
And I'm thinking,
25 years ago, 30 years ago. Like, it's still a very
do another
Yeah.
one.
young
Yeah,
genre.
one more leaves a shit. And
So
I'm
there's,
thinking,
yeah, we're still very much in the infancy of like developing the sound, and I feel you can kind of feel
queue's bigger than the door.
the torch
Gotta
being
get rid of this pill
passed
taste.
from generation to generation. But I think what's interesting with
Glad
the
I'm not
streets
going
and with
this
Ghost
way.
Poet as
They'll
well
be
is
here
that they
till dawn.
kind of stand as like almost like a slight outlier
And I'm thinking,
within the scenes across the periods in which they have kind of like
Yeah.
existed.
Yeah.
Fidgety and warm.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well because they probably have influences of certain sounds and things, but yeah,
The room
this
spinning.
sound a bit kind of like
Fall down.
outside,
Yeah,
My heart's beating
Almost.
too quick.
yeah,
or
Fucking
distinct
tripping
at
out.
least.
very
I wonder
distinct.
where they got
Yeah.
Yeah,
it. Turned away, no doubt.
This is a
Who
great
cares?
track.
It's a
Well,
tune coming in.
again, I don't know if
That
you
one
want to see
where
this
it's
on
like,
this
I'm
edit,
thinking,
but this video is mad. Every time I see it comes up.
Yeah, it's
like,
crazy.
again, this video's mad.
It's a crazy video.
When this, with that scene in this video, for those of you, if you're listening to this, it's, let's just say it's R-rated. There's
can
drugs
see
in the
my hand in
bathroom.
the air.
There's
Need
a
to
couple
wave
of
'em over
blokes and
here.
a few women in the
Swear
bathroom.
Simone's kissing Dan.
And then I said
Heads twisted
previously
severe.
that I
Bodies
don't know whether
rushing
you
everywhere. They could've
get away
texted
with
me
this.
when they were near.
Maybe you do. I feel
fucked,
like
I don't
music
care.
videos have always been kind of mad. But to that point, if you can get away with it in a music video
Oh, who cares?
and it's sound and that's quite still like widely distributed, why is it like not sound in certain spaces? If you know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm quite getting my point across there.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's a music video in the same way that a movie is a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, so
But this is like, I feel like movies is a great example. It's like, is something sound because it's a movie, like stuff that's like generally not accepted now, or like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like even films like Rush Hour and shit are like a good example. Like, I love these films, they're classics, and yeah, but people say like, nah, they couldn't be made. Although apparently there's a Rush Hour film coming out. I think they did it for it, whatever. It was like next year. And I guess it depends whether you find that shit funny, but I feel like, I don't know, when I see stuff like this, I always think, even like with the comedy shows like Little Britain and the
Yeah.
sketch shows, even like South Park and like all of these type shows, like I do wonder whether,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. This feels more like a political point, but yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, certain shows had their time and they work within the context in which they were played, but
even like the old black comedies like Everybody Hates Chris and My Wife and Kids and
Yeah.
Fresh Prince.
yeah.
And all
Yeah,
that.
I mean, look, it's like it has to be organic to the time, and some things age well, some things don't. I am of the opinion that comedy should, you know, it's important to be able to like, yeah, I think there's a fine line, but
Yeah.
I think you
Even
should
like
be.
some
I think
stand-ups,
I
you
think
know,
there's good
they're-
ways of being able to talk about difficult topics and do it in an intelligent way, and yeah, I think, yeah, probably shows like Little Britain were a little bit cheap, but they're also of their time. Yeah.
I feel like that's fair enough.
Yeah, because like sometimes you got to think about it like it can be a mirror to like what's wrong in society by making a joke out of it. So it depends on like,
that's the thing.
it can actually help to
yeah,
kind of
bring
like,
things into conversation or bring things to light, or
Yeah.
I think that is, again, speaking about like creativity and art, and like I feel like that's basically what satire, the whole kind of
Yeah.
genre is based on, isn't it?
yeah, it's like,
Taking a piss out of something to bring it up. if that
you know,
makes
like
sense.
there's that old woman who every time she finds out that the brownies were made by like an ethnic minority, she like starts vomiting over it. And like, it's, you know, I've met grandparents who kind of like have that energy. I remember like, yeah, one friend's grandma like saying, you know, oh, you can't tell black people's expressions very well, and like saying it to me and my friend. And you, so like when you see it on TV, it's kind of actually somewhat emancipating that there is like an awareness and like a joke poked at the ridiculousness of
it. Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel like that's a great.
So yeah, it's hard to judge these
ridiculous,
things
bro.
in retrospect because it's kind of dictated by the times and like how you navigate the political and social climate. Yeah.
No, it's interesting, but I do like. That's why I've liked these older pics. It's
Yeah.
like it always, and again, this is kind of a wider point about the whole does music age with you, things like that. I think obviously as we've seen over time, music does age. So sounds represent periods.
Yeah.
Same thing like we're seeing in these videos, like you say, they're of a time.
Yeah.
And it's like I do find like that interesting, kind of like going into that world for a minute, especially if it's like ones when we was too young or we weren't even around. Like I do find that stuff very interesting. Yeah.
No, 100.
Like, it's great. Okay, so now we're into the final 3 tracks.
Yeah.
We've got Blood Orange, You're Not Good Enough. Track number 7, I believe.
Oh, I get such a good feeling off this tune, man. I've never seen the video for this, by the way.
Yeah, this is you know what? It's quite mad. I think Urban Outfitters posted this.
But do you know what's funny about that? It's because like music, it's funny because now we're listening to like newer music. I haven't seen the music videos for them, and it's partly because music videos are just not as big of a thing.
Yeah, and I was having this conversation back in the day with all the music TV channels,
Yeah.
Channel U, AKA,
Yeah.
MTV, all these things. Even like I saw some article about MTV shutting down some of its channels or something.
But it's mad to think this is like one of my favorite songs, and I've never seen the music video, which, you know, when I was a kid would be unheard of.
Yeah. To be honest, I've been thinking I need to get back to watching music videos more, to be honest.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's only like a select few that I watch. I definitely want to watch more. But that's one of the things I'm going to look forward to about doing this show is, getting the videos on as well.
Yeah.
So watch the YouTube version, everyone. We need that YouTube money.
But yeah, this, I mean, Blood Orange, this Dev Hynes, like, is, for me, is a generational talent. Like, and what I like about his career as well is that it has been quite a slow burner in the sense that it hasn't just been like a manufactured, like, rise. It has kind of ebbed and flowed, and he's kind of just like arrived in a really good place in which he's been really well recognized now.
Saying, like, respected. Like,
Respected, yeah. Similar to like artists like Little Sims.
Yeah.
I just think it kind of speaks to the point I was making earlier about being able to like really live and with the creation of your music, like rather than just like being dictated by what everyone else is doing. I think he's just so like authentic to himself.
I can. To be fair, there probably are some people like that, but I can't think of too many. But to be honest, you put me more onto him. To be honest, definitely. You and Siggy, shout out Siggy.
Yeah. Shout out Siggy. He blends so many different genres, and yeah, it's quite fascinating actually. There's a lot of Brit sounds, but it's
this. So I really interrupted you taking this track, and this is actually sick.
It is, isn't it? But yeah, my memories with this song is first time I started going back to Copenhagen for the first time. So I think it was the first year of uni or second year of uni. Must have been about 21. I just started going back to Copenhagen and building a relationship with that place where my family are from, and I would just pick up a bike at the train station, and I would just be flying on my bike listening to these songs and the other songs off the Negro Swan album, and honestly it takes me back every time because there was a different level of freedom that I felt listening to this music in that city. Yeah.
That was a great pick. Like musically, just to touch on the music a little bit before we dip into that time.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like almost like what was it, like a funk 70s 80s kind of like with the guitar sounds. It's actually very like some of the 1975 stuff.
That's a really
Like,
interesting,
It's like
tape.
that same like kind of I think it's like an 80s kind of guitar-y synthy sound. Like that's so cold.
It's boundless though. It isn't. It's
got like the
undefinable.
feeling to
It's him.
Yeah.
It's like you can't really like place it, and I like that.
So cold. So talk to us more about Copenhagen then. So we've obviously had a bit of background about starting in Yorkshire, and we've mentioned about moving to London for a period. So now you've got to Copenhagen. This is what sort of time period are we around here? Where's this in the chronology?
This is 2012. 2016, 2017. I started going to Copenhagen.
This is while he was in London then.
No, this is when I started uni. So I started uni in 2015. And so in my first...
after London then.
Yeah, after I moved back to Leeds. And I went to Copenhagen, and I took, I think every summer I take my boys from uni with me.
Oh, that's
and
sick.
we would just pull up and
Bro,
we just
the best trips.
we just rent bikes, and like the freedom was different. I think it's like the most free I've ever felt, because we'd be, for people who know what Copenhagen's like, you kind of like pull up to the club, or you go to a restaurant, you pull up to the club on your bike, everyone's got their bikes outside the club, and then you just all cycle, everyone's bike looks the same, and you're trying to find your bike after. And like, and we'd just be cycling home, and either like playing it on my phone out loud, or just in my headphones, like just cycling back to our Airbnb or wherever we were staying. And I fell in love with the city for one, and I was like, wow, that like I feel so at home here, but also, I discovered this album on that trip, and the two things kind of like combined and created like a really special scene that's always come back to.
Yeah. Bro, that sounds like a sick time. You said summertime as well?
Yeah, summertime. Every time. The time I went to Copenhagen 2 months ago was the first time I'd ever been in winter.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Different experience.
It was still good,
you
but
need 2 coats out there.
It's still a great city in winter, but it's a really special place in summer.
Yeah, I bet, man. I'm just thinking, if you don't know, riding, I always say riding, it nearly sounds all pause.
It was a pause, bro. My eyes widened.
I was at, bro, pause. Sorry, cycling, tunes in, undefeated, summertime. It's the best, bro. It's the best.
Yeah, man.
So,
Let me not saying it.
Let's simply move on from that one.
Safety.
Safety. But bro, honestly, that sounds so good.
Yeah, man.
How long would you spend at a time when you was out there?
I think we'd spend like 2 weeks. There were times when I would go for 2 weeks, and then I'd come back to England, and then I'd go back like 2 weeks later.
No, it's like that Holmes Simpson meme.
Do you know what? Like, that whole time was like quite a transformative period. I remember this was a time where I didn't like flying, so I actually took the train to Copenhagen. Yeah, and then this trip.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Well, yeah, if there's a will,
This is the way you found it.
Yeah, bro. I took the train to Copenhagen, then I actually like traveled to Finland. So I got another train from Copenhagen to Stockholm, and then I took an overnight boat to Helsinki, and then went up to this place called Tampere, and I wrote some music up there, and I met my family there as well, for a period. And then on my that trip was crazy, because when I got to Stockholm, I was like confronted with like these neo-Nazis. Have I ever told you this story?
Bro, no.
Okay.
That took a turn, jeez.
Yeah, and it was like
after that trip and that journey as well.
Yeah, no, yeah. Last thing you want.
Last thing I was thinking about a bed.
Do you boys mind doing this tomorrow?
Yeah. It's just not the day, guys.
Yeah, but yeah, I got to Sweden. This is not good for the Swedish travel board, is it?
Sweden, sponsor us.
But they were French, to be fair. But like, yeah, I was in the kitchen. I was staying in a hostel. I was in the kitchen, and this French guy was like asking me, "Oh, do you like music?" And I was like,
The voices. I know this guy's a problem.
What did I put on a?
Yeah.
Do you like music? I was like, yeah. And then we got chatting, and I finished my food, and he's like, "Oh, me and my boy are gonna go grab some drinks if you want to join us." And they started speaking in French, and as we were walking, and then they started asking me questions about my parents and what does your mum do, what does your dad do, and then they were intrigued about what my dad did, and that, you know, he, as they put it, wasn't like a conventional black man in terms of what he did and his education, and then when we were sat in this bar, they started to just say really weird comments like, oh, have you noticed that the bartender like doesn't want to serve you? It's probably because you're black, and that hadn't crossed my mind at all. And then they started like the conversation developed into, we don't think blacks and whites should mix, you see, and we're like part of this neo-Nazi group from France, and we're on tour, you know, like talking to other people.
Brazen about it.
Yeah, and then he was like, look, you know, it's not that we don't like black people, and then one of them was like, I used to have a black girlfriend, but we are like wanting to like express like the importance of like separation, and like, you know, this issue is like the problem of integration is exacerbated by Jewish influence, all sorts of crazy mad
stuff,
ideas and thoughts. And at this point I'm looking at my drink and I'm like, what have these people put in my drink? Like, because I think I'd left the table at one point, and so at that point I was like, oh, I'm gonna go. And then they just like followed me back to the hostel and were like just constantly just telling me like what was wrong, like literally wouldn't leave me alone. And I was like, look, you guys need to leave me alone.
That's awful, mate.
And the next morning I couldn't really sleep. And the next morning I woke up and I went back in the kitchen. I was waiting for these guys because I just wanted to know like why they had, like, I didn't know whether these guys had targeted me, or I started to become a little bit like uneasy about what had happened, especially as it had kind of dawned on me, the reality of meeting these random people in this place. So they didn't turn up, and I had to catch this boat to Finland. And then in Finland, when I met my mum and my brother, this guy in a cafe shouted at me, because obviously my mum and my brother are both white. And he was like, you can't be in this cafe with these two people.
Bro.
And so, and I guess this speaks to a wider point about the mixed race experience as well, of like having family members who look different to you. But that was like really intense. And then when I got back to Copenhagen, this guy just shouted the word nigger at me as he cycled past me.
Oh my days.
And so I kind of had this really weird and intense experience. And I was at the hostel in Copenhagen. I was meant to fly back to England that night. Or not fly back, I was going to take the train actually. And then I just went downstairs and there was two lads at the bar, and I've just thought to myself, I'm not going to be defeated by this trip. So, there has been some bad experiences, but part of me just wanted to go to bed and wake up in the morning to catch my train back. And then I just decided to talk to these lads, and then I ended up extending my trip for another week. And then I was listening to this song and listening to more Blood Orange. And I just feel like, my relationship with his music has always been kind of this like feeling of like resolution, and like that whole trip was kind of I think what's good about traveling is things can go bad, and then you can kind of like correct them and realize it kind of like heightens the experience of life in the ups and downs of it. So but the Blood Orange album was like something that traveled with me throughout those times as well, and so it kind of just has always stuck with me as like quite an important part of like formative experience stuff.
Wow, bro, that trip sounds mad.
And
not even in like the good mad. But obviously hopefully it was, by the sounds of it, it was still a good trip. But
I think the way that I've always seen it as well is I think life is like this, and and that kind of speaks back to the comedy point and like what is appropriate in a music video and not. It's like there are dark and good parts of life, and so I think it's understanding how to navigate it and to like how to poke fun at it or how to like resolve it. And so that's kind of how I see a lot of it, and yeah, being able to like enjoy the rest of that trip and like still enjoy that album even though it like traveled with me through a difficult period is a nice way of, and I think an essential way of like thinking about everything. It's like I don't really like to be outraged by things. It's like I know that shit's out there, and I'll be living in a bubble to kind of like protect myself from that. And so, you know, you and I grew up experiencing a lot of discrimination, and so I think my approach to life is like learning how best to understand it and how best to respond to it. Yeah.
That, to be honest, I think that is a good way to look at it. And I think we've maybe had this conversation before where I think sometimes the reason why we do things the way we do is almost like to cope, I think, almost. But I think that's like quite a healthy way of like you're taking all the negative, but you're not letting it put you down too much.
Yeah.
When that shit easily can, you know.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, everyone's got a limit.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think
Like you
I was
say,
speaking
it's
to
just
my dad about
navigating
it. I was speaking to my dad about it. It's sometimes you've got to realize a lot of these things are not personal, and then you look at the person who's doing it and why you can break it down into why they're doing it. And I think that's why I like to study these sorts of things. I've always been interested in social issues and trying to understand, you know, people that I disagree with. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to like hear out different points of view because I feel like that is the only way of forming a resolution. And obviously we live in a time now where it's like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear this. It's like, I don't really know where that gets us.
Yeah. Bro, that's a bombshell point on its own. It's true, to be fair. That is very much the times we're in. Yeah, that's very much the times we're in. People, there's no, the other sides, they don't really, there's no like communication, there's no resolution, like you say, there's no mediation, there's no, it's Wild West out there.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, it's important to be, I think, to be somewhat, not to be too sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facts. Wow. Okay, we're into our last two, the penultimate. And this one is, so for my OST, everyone, when we get an artist on a music artist, we mandate them. Mandate. The people mandate them that they have to include at least one track of their own. We give them a few other little things, but that's the point we're at now. So this is Atu's own track, one of my personal favorites. We touched on this earlier, but this one's got to get an intro. This one has to have an intro. What a track. Speaking about, well, to be honest, I feel like this conversation sprawled over a lot of different topics, but I feel like coming to this towards, you put us in a good position, I think, this track. Yeah,
thanks, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave an intriguing intro for the people. Yeah. But this is a great track. And just to say a little story that I've got about this track before we play it is, I remember playing it to my mate, shout out Wills, my mate Wills, in their flat in Leeds, New Year's Eve, kind of like scatty afters type vibe, like at something stupid at 1:00 in the morning. And then we stuck this on. I played it for everyone. And it's a moment that lives with me, to be fair.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, a moment that lives with me. New Year's is my favourite time of year as well, so it's kind of just one that stuck with me. So I always do think about that moment and that time for me in Leeds. And also, obviously, that's where we kind of reconnected a bit more as well.
Big time, yeah.
When we was both living in Leeds. So, yeah, this is definitely one of my fave.
No, thanks, man.
All right, and without further ado, we got to play it now. 2005.
thinking you could lose yourself in this world. Easy, like, I don't wanna regret that. We never had a name for anxiety then. You said whatever it was made me me. And on our bikes we used to take the shortcut through the graveyard. And now I see your father stood talking to you there for hours. And I ain't asked him how he's doing. I ain't visited, cause I don't know what to say, honestly. Yeah, writing on a Monday morning, this week feels like a mountain. Well, I'm still trying to decide if it's best to hide behind my eyelids. And it's cold, when you're gone you're cold. As weakness gives you strength, not always for good. Drifting into hell, you think that I can't see that it's over. Like my boy from the corner, like mummy's Corolla. Like those nights in Paris, rip them off these four walls like posters. Wonder if life is about staying true while watching the sky change on you. Spread your wings or lose your inhibitions for a moment or two. You're floating. If we make it through this, we'll make it through anything. I spent too many nights here twisting and turning in the corner
do you know
of a
what?
corner.
It's
And when
funny
the
you say
truth
that, 'cause that
capsizes,
line
will
actually
you
helps
blame the
me
tide
out
of the
now.
timing? She loves you regardless. You feel alone in the darkness, in the frame. And if the way forwards is backwards, back down those country lanes, back staring through that window pane while the sun sets on all we made. The bigger picture's what we ran through and chose to leave behind. Frustrating how the truth was the intention behind our divide.
Cause she got lots of love and she's staring at you in the dark. She got lots of words that been tearing you apart. Welcome to the end of the place you call home. Made hell for the highs to try and fall through a moment.
Smashed it.
You're faithful.
I don't remember the writing of this. I don't remember whether the beat was made first or I actually, it's a blur, this song for me. It's crazy.
Like this one, guys, we're gonna post these track lists Apple Music and Spotify playlists.
These
You've
hands
got
are
to take
trembling.
this one in.
That word was heaven sent. I smashed this mirror in one moment. I reached for everything I'd ever felt. These conversations where we prioritize listening till our words are genuine and relevant. Still caught between two worlds that raise me and frame my ambivalence. I still need that first line of space. Repeated by a stranger, I can't confide in those too close who treat help as if it were a favor. He's outgrowing expectations and familiar faces. Witnessed you throw him to the waves just to try save him while he was drowning. I'm floating. If we make it through this, we'll make it through anything. I spent too many nights here twisting and turning in the corner of a corner. And when the truth capsizes, will you blame the tide of the timing? You love her regardless. You feel alone in the darkness, in the frame. And if the way forwards is backwards, back down those country lanes, back staring through that window pane while the sun sets on all we made. The bigger picture's what we ran through and chose to leave behind. Frustrating how the truth was the intention behind our divide.
I fall through. It feels like everything you feel. Cause she got lots of love and she's staring at you in the dark. She got lots of words that been tearing you apart. Welcome to the end of the place you call home. Made hell for the highs to try and fall through a moment. Your faithful eyes, I just wanna trust like you do. Maybe I could stay there with you. The world looks so unkind from up here though.
Bravo. Bravo. Masterpiece.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Masterpiece. Masterpiece. Mate, bloody hell. This shout out, I'm in the music. 128k views on her lyric video.
Yeah, I know.
Bro.
I didn't know that actually. I do now.
Innit? Numbers. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Numbers. Fair enough.
That's sick. I'm in your music. It's actually a guy, I believe. But he's been really supportive over the years, just like posting my music on YouTube, and sometimes he hits me up and he's like, yo, you could be doing better with your YouTube and stuff like that. He's actually a genuine support. But no, this song was as I said before, I can't even remember the process of writing it. I just remember that obviously, as the introduction alludes to, like, it's to do with loss, like lost a childhood friend.
Wow.
Who,
to be fair, same.
Yeah.
Bro, yeah. It's tough.
And you know what it's like. It's just, I think I tried to write about that, and I couldn't, and it kind of, I think that's the interesting thing about grief. Like sometimes you try and write about something, and even though it deviates into almost writing about something else, and it becomes almost like a somewhat of an abstract idea, it doesn't make it any less raw or any less real. And it just it's literally your own brain's capacity to frame the feeling that you have. And I think that's an interesting thing about writing. It's like you're trying to deal with a certain situation, you're writing a song about someone and about that specifically, and like your inability to actually manage those emotions like forces you and deviates you to write slightly off center. And I think that's why that song is so raw, because I actually allowed it to go there. I didn't just be like, no, I've got to write about this every experience.
Yeah, earlier, like, cause you just sometimes you kind of have to let it. It's like what you said about exploring.
Yeah, you've got to let it come to you.
Yeah,
and like it was a moment. It created a moment or a perspective that unearthed a whole heap of other emotions that I'd probably been holding in for a while, and so it all kind of like accumulated into that song.
Wow.
But yeah, that song for me is like is one of the times where I felt most understood when I wrote it. And like, God, the release of like putting a song like that in the world is good.
I bet, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it comes into pop culture a little bit. Well, it did recently with the Dave album, didn't it? Because obviously people were saying that that's another like a deeply personal project, and it gets all the plaudits. I feel like it's definitely impressive work for the listener. I think when the artists do things like that. Yeah, so fair props. Like it's hard to do. It definitely seems like it's a hard thing to do, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying about the Ghost Poet tune, like Survive It. It's just like sometimes when you're in that frame of mind, I think it happens quite quickly, and you kind of, like I said, I cannot remember writing that song. It's almost like a blur. Yeah.
Mate, that's crazy. That's crazy. And without further ado, this is Atu's My OST, The Pilot, and we're going into the last track. With this one, I think we'll just play it, and we will title it afterwards.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. Maybe you can give us a final outro.
Yeah, no, this song, Blood Orange, King's Cross, is from his new album, Essex Honey. I could have chosen almost every song off this album. It's been
quality project.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a soundtrack for our last 6 months with our project that we've been working on in Norway, just with Siggy and Fang. A little plug.
Fang, Plug City.
But yeah, no, I feel like this has kind of almost been like I feel like the project has almost been riding on this album in a way. It's kind of like carried it, and it's something that's united us as a team. And but this song in particular, you know, I lost another friend this year or last year now, and one of the things that like really helped me after the dealing with that grief was skateboarding. So I just started skateboarding for some reason.
I remember,
It's kind of like a nice thing to just try something new and fall off, and like I was like really tentative like with the skateboard at first, and then when I would play these songs I almost felt invincible and I would just be comfortable falling off and trying loads of new things, and I was like really felt connected to my friend. And so yeah, this song in particular, as soon as it came on, I just felt like I'll be on the skateboard and with my earphones in, I'll just be like letting go. But the whole album, to be honest, Essex Honey, if you haven't heard it, I really recommend it. It it reminds me of like old British sitcoms. It's very traditionally English in ways, but it still has a lot of Blood Orange's peculiarities and unique elements that he had in the previous song that we played. It's just a really, really special song, a really special album, and enjoy.
It's the most recent track on your list. 4 months ago.
Yeah, 4 months. Haven't watched the video either.
To be fair, there isn't a video for this.
There isn't.
Well, it should be on the screen. I don't know why. This thing keeps disconnecting. Guys, we'll fix this for next time.
Cathartic, like escapism,
Yeah, escapism.
But I think he wrote this album, with or after the like managing the grief of his, or as a part of the process of managing the grief of losing his mum. So I think there is like a lot of themes of grief in this album that I think translate really powerfully, to be honest.
Yeah, man, on the grief thing, obviously, like I said, it's a similar thing with a close friend, and yeah, grief's definitely a strange one, how it kind of hits you, and I feel like sometimes it's even waves, and it can hit you in, like, unusual moments, and different things like that. And like, for example, it's interesting that you put this one on as well. Yeah, because sometimes like the songs that I have that remind me of certain people that I've lost, like I don't even want to listen to them, but I feel like it's good if you can, and you can, like, you know, kind of almost process it. Yeah,
like I said, it was this feeling of
light on it almost.
Yeah, it was the good light.
Yeah,
in that place. So yeah, that song is like, I just think it's beautiful. It's really uplifting. It's really cathartic, and like it has that like ability to transport you to like a different place almost. And yeah, I was falling off my skateboard a lot listening to that song. I got a lot of like cuts. I'm too
good, but it wasn't that good.
I'm getting a bit old for it, to be honest. But
that's jokes. Yeah, man. And without further ado, we filmed this so late, so we may as well wrap it there. That was Atu's My OST, the pilot. It was a pleasure to have you on, my friend. You smashed it. Smashed it. Great conversation, great picks.
Thank you, bro.
Great moments, great stories, with the highs, with the lows. Yeah. It's been a roller coaster.
It has. And like, yeah, it's actually, like I've said, like such an amazing show. I'm so gassed to be the first guest on this part of the pilot, part of the fabric now.
Yes, mate. Don't worry. Yeah, little spoiler alert. We will be having recurring co-hosts, and so Atu will join us on the other side of the sofa.
Yes.
Switch it up.
Yeah, man.
At some
looking forward
point.
to that. I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. So good to be here. Like, yeah, back in Manchester with you.
Shout out, Manny.
And yeah, no, this is gonna be an amazing show.
Love that, bro. Thank you. Just before the housekeeping. You guys have watched the podcast before or listened to on the housekeeping. So what have you got coming up? What can people expect from you next? For example, if my man who done the lyric video is listening, what can a fan of Atu expect next?
Yeah, I've been working on some music in the background. I've been living a lot, as you know.
Yeah.
I've been going through a lot of personal transitions, and as I said earlier in the podcast, I'm prioritizing like what's good for me and my life and the people around me, and so I haven't really been writing as much music, but I also find that it's in those transitional periods that allow for a reset.
Yeah,
and
I feel like you get inspiration as well, probably.
yeah, a lot of inspiration. It allows you to kind of just be in touch with yourself, keep your feet on the ground, and so yeah, I've been slowly writing, and I can feel that some of my I'm kind of connecting back more with that type of songwriting that you see in 2005, and that's partly also why I picked it, because I feel kind of back in that swing. Yeah.
Nice, bro.
Yeah.
That's good. That is a teaser. That is a great teaser for a fan of Atu. Great. That's unreal. So yeah, somewhere on this video, we're gonna get Atu's socials. If you want to get at Atu, we'll stick some of the other projects that we're working on in some bios or on screen or something.
Yeah.
And then you can get us on the brand socials again somewhere, maybe on this side of me.
Yeah.
But we shall see in the edit. If that's not in the edit, that'll be weird, me doing that.
We'll put something on
we got to put some on the screen now. Something's got to go there. But thank you, my friend. Other last little bits of housekeeping. So like I said, we're going to post Atu's track list to YouTube on the ACRA YouTube channel. So make sure, subscribe. Do the subscribe. Mum, subscribe.
Yeah.
Click
comment.
the bell as well to be notified. Click the bell to be notified. That's what all the YouTubers say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, get your mums to do the same.
Yeah, get your mums to do the same. Mums cropped up a bit in this, so this episode was for the mums.
It is. We can dedicate it.
Shout out the mums. Me and my mum, we have a little tiffs, but anyway, another topic.
But it's all love.
It's all up. It's all up. Anywho, track list, YouTube, ACRA TV, at ACRA TV should be somewhere on the screen, maybe here again.
Yeah.
Then we're going to post this track list to the ACRA Apple Music, the ACRA app, Spotify as well. So you can get that on your preferred platform. If you use another platform, sorry, is what it is. Yeah, we're not putting them on them all.
Hard decision.
Yeah, sorry, we had to go for the few big ones. Tidal, sorry, Jay. Anyway, then this should be dropping, well, if you're watching this, you know when it's dropping, so ignore me. But audio dropping 2 days later, so on Thursday, you can get the audio. But if you're watching this, you probably don't want the audio. But just so you know, so we're doing first Tuesdays, the video of the month even, and then the following Thursday, so 2 days after, is the audio. And then, we're going to post all those track lists. And then, that's everything I think you guys need to know. So we're just going to wrap it there. Say thank you guys. That's us signing off. Let's go. Wrong camera, that one.